Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. So today I'm a little bit tired. I didn't sleep as good, so I'm going to do some easier puzzles so I don't have to think as much, but also I try to put some beginner and intermediate level puzzles in here as well. That way, we have a broad variety for all levels of player. And if you're not familiar with pattern recognition and you're new to this, basically you want to solve a set of puzzles, whether it's 5 or 10 or 100, whatever, and you just solve them multiple times. That way you don't forget the tactics and puzzles that you see, or excuse me, tactics and patterns that you see in the puzzles. All right, so I'll try to do at least 10, if not more puzzles today. Okay, what do you do first? Well, if you're trying to solve a puzzle or a position in a game, you definitely want to see what your opponent just did. They moved this knight here. What did that accomplish? They may have captured a pawn there. I didn't notice what if they captured a pawn or not. So it looks like we could just take that knight. So maybe they captured a piece. We take that knight. We have a discovered attack on the other knight here. Now, if we take this knight, this one's under fire, so maybe it captures this pawn. And then we have the option of jumping here, capturing this pawn, because the other one protecting it is pinned, and we'll have a fork on the king and the bishop. So that looks pretty good. You also want to count up material to see if you're ahead or behind, to help you decide if you can trade down in material and go for a win in the end game, or if you're behind in material, then you want to avoid piece trades, maybe try and trade pawns off so you don't have to worry about them promoting in the end game. All right, so I'm thinking we just take. They go here. Then we take this with a check. And we're also attacking their bishop, so they'll probably have to go there. And, I guess we could just straight away take this bishop, or we could move our rook up and try and pin it to the king and go after it. So then they would probably have to move their knight to protect. Maybe they go here to protect the knight, and then we could capture. And then maybe move our rook to go after this pawn. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we take, all right, and they don't even want to show any more after this. So we just have a discovered attack on the knight. So they'll probably go there, and then we can start attacking there, and we'll be ahead in material. All right, on to puzzle number 2. Oh, so it looks like a pawn just captured a rook. And our other rook is under attack. But this is looking bad for our opponent. You definitely want to ask what your opponent's last move did. So they captured a rook. They're also attacking our other rook, so we have to deal with that. Now we want to look at checks, captures, and threats. Also, maybe take a look at the material. Like I said, we have 4 pawns. They have, 6? So they're ahead by 2 pawns at the moment. So being behind in material like that, we need to try and go for a win, or grab some material. But you want to look at checks first. So if we go here, we're delivering a check. The only thing they can do, remember when a king is being checked, there are 3 or less options. Block the attacker, capture the attacker, or run. So if we check with the rook, they can't block or capture. The king can only run. If he goes into the corner, we'll just deliver a mate with our bishop. So check and then mate. So as I was saying, I'm a little bit tired today. So I just decided to do something easier and do some beginner puzzles. That way, any beginners watching can check this out as well, and the problems won't be too hard for them. But also, if you're having a day where you just don't feel like studying chess, but you want to get something in, you can pick some easier problems to do for a review. And if you do easier puzzles like this, it's more about the patterns and less about calculation. But if you want to work on calculation more, you can do some harder puzzles. You can check out the videos I have on more intermediate, advanced, and higher level stuff. All right, so the king has just moved. What is that accomplishing? Well, it's attacking both of our pawns, but it looks like, pause at any time if you want to figure out the problem. We don't want to go after this or he'll just start wiping our pawns out. So it looks like we have to push forward. And then even if he takes this, we'll be able to take the other pawn and then promote. So there's no way to stop us here. So if they take, we take, and the king can't catch up to our pawn, which will promote. All right, on to puzzle number 4. A pawn has just captured, I think, was that a knight there? It captured a piece, I believe, attacking our other knight. But if we look at checks first, hopefully you found the move. It looks like we can just put our queen here and deliver a mate. So you have to beware if you're going to open up the position, especially with the king stuck in the middle like this. All right. On to puzzle number 4, or this is puzzle number 5. Okay, what did this move accomplish? Well, he jumps a knight into our territory. He's threatening a pawn and possibly capturing our bishop, knocking out our bishop pair. We could deal with this by defending the pawn and saving our bishop, but then they'd grab our other pawn here possibly. We could move, well, we could move here and defend, or we could just move this pawn. But if we count up the material, see if we're ahead or behind, we have 6 pawns. Our opponent has 6 as well. All right, so material as far as pieces, we each have the bishop pair and a knight and 2 rooks. All right, so we want to look at checks first. Oh, also, you want to look at checks first as they're most forcing, then captures, then threats. So here it looks like we can just pick off their knight and be ahead in material. So I think that was just, not a good move here. So that's probably what they want us to do. So you have to be aware of simple blunders, especially beginners out there. Make sure that if you are looking for checks and then captures, look for unprotected pieces with the captures. If there's anything you can just take for free, maybe your opponent just blundered. All right. Oh, and if it looks like they're just giving you a piece, double check and make sure it's not a trap, but sometimes mistakes are made and you just grab a free piece. All right, puzzle number 6. Okay, what's happening here? The king was being checked by our queen, so it moved with a discovered attack on our queen. So a way to take advantage of this and keep pressing forward, attacking the king. Well, if we look at all checks, it looks like this knight can just jump in here, forking the king and the rook. And will that be enough as far as material? Well, after we grab that rook, we'll be even material, I think. But their king will be under attack. So if we go here, where can the king go? He doesn't want to go here or it'll be a checkmate with our queen. So if we check, he's probably going to run here. If he does that, well, I don't know, we'll just do this move because then we can grab the rook back. So, like I said, they have to go here. Is there a way we can take advantage of that? We could keep attacking by capturing with the queen. You know, and then depending where the king goes, we have different attacks, like pushing this pawn with the discovered attack along that diagonal. If the king goes to the light squares, we can go here. So we have a pretty good attack going on the king. Another example of why you don't want to let your king get stuck in the center of the board, especially in an open position like this. All right, puzzle number 7. Was that a capture here? Queen is attacking our queen as well. This pawn is under attack. All right, what does white have here? Well, if we look for checks first, should be able to see this move, delivering a check. And depending where the king goes, what do we have after that? If the king goes to here, we can continue to attack maybe with the bishop. If the king goes there, then what do we do? Now, if we look at material, let's see if we're ahead or behind. We have 6 pawns. Our opponent has, what, 7? So we're down a pawn. And they have a rook for one of our bishops. So we're behind here. You know, this is probably the best move, but we have to make sure there's a good follow-up. You don't want to check just because you can. So they're probably going to, you know, maybe they go in the corner. If they do that, we could just go here next. Something like that. You know, and then we're threatening a mate here. So let's see what they say. We go there. Oh, and they're not even going to look at it any further. So, yeah, if they go in the corner, that's a pretty good threat. Well, I guess not, because we're not actually attacking that with the queen. So if they go there, what can we do? Huh. Oh, well, I don't know. If they go there, we could just grab this pawn and start attacking that king again. What does the computer recommend on that? Let's see. We go there, take king to f1. They recommend bishop to b5. So if the king goes there, we check him. If he goes to h1, yeah, we just grab that pawn. He goes to g1, we go back to g4, check again. And then when the king goes back to h1, oh, they recommend this, attacking that way. And then we're lined up on the rook with that queen. All right, let's look at puzzle number 8. Okay, we just had a capture by the rook. So rook on the 7th rank, or our 2nd rank, is usually good if you can achieve that. Because usually there's a lot of pawns here that can be attacked. You know, now there's only 2, but... All right, material. We have 4 pawns, 2 rooks, and a queen. They have 4 pawns, 2 rooks, and a queen, but they also have a bishop and a knight. So we need to do something. All right, it looks like we can just go for a back rank mate. So if we go there, they can block with the queen or the bishop or the rook, but we can take all of those. So yeah, you don't want to leave your back rank open like that, because now we just start picking everything off. You know, now if their rook goes back there, we just grab that and it's a checkmate. All right, on to puzzle number 9. Okay, so the knight jumps forward here onto this outpost, I guess. You could chase it away with the pawn. Oh, but it's attacking our queen, so we have to deal with that. All right, we can't take the knight, so you would think we have to move the queen, but where to? We are aimed here. Oh, we can just deliver a checkmate. Okay. Yeah, so we just capture. All right, yep, another example of the opponent focusing on their plans and not seeing what the opponent can do against them. So always, make sure you keep an eye on your opponent's plans as well, and you don't overlook their threats. All right, on to puzzle number 10. A pawn is just pushed forward here, ready to run up and promote. So not good for us. But it looks like we can deliver a check, maybe here, and then we could promote the pawn. So maybe that's the best thing to do, but we have to watch out if they can start checking us. That could be dangerous, but I think we'll still be good. Let's make sure there's not something better that I'm overlooking. Okay, if we go there, the king has to go here. We promote. So now their queen is under attack. They have to start maybe looking for possible checks. If they go here, well, looks like we can just run there and then use our queen to block, and we should be able to stop this pawn. So check, promote. Okay, so they just take. Yeah, but now this pawn can't go anywhere. If it goes there, we get behind it and we capture, and we've got this extra. Well, with the rook we're winning. Okay, I guess I'll try and do 10 more problems real quick, get 20 in for this since these are a little bit easier. So puzzle number 11, we just had a capture here. What can we do? Well, if we look for checks first, it looks like we could just go there, forking the king and the rook. Then we capture the rook. The king will probably move over here to protect the rook, capture, then we can grab this. So, I don't know, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so now if they capture that, yeah, we can capture this with a check. All right, well, on to puzzle number 12. The rook is attacking ours. Oh, but they leave themselves open, so they neglected our plans. It looks like we can just, capture here, delivering a mate. All right, on to puzzle 13. The bishop has dropped back as it was under attack by the pawn. So what do we have in this position with black pieces? Are there any checks? I don't see any possible checks, so captures. Do they have anything unprotected? queen. You know, they have quite a few unprotected pieces. So maybe we can fork these unprotected pieces. Something like this. We capture. Then what? We're attacking both of these. So, you know, even if they try and move their rook here, our queen can capture that with check, you know, and then go after the other one here. All right. Oh, wait a minute. We do have to watch out. They have a threat of going here and then there. So that looks pretty dangerous. Huh. Okay, so now we have to double check everything. Remember to look at your opponent's plans as well. If they go here, you know, with a possible mate threat in the works here. If we go there, they go there, we could take the rook with check. The king would have to move, but then what? Can we just take that? You know, so if they go here, we are able to run there. Huh. So I think we're safe. All right, let's see. We go there. Oh, they didn't even try that attack. All right, well, now we can just take that with a check. And they don't even have an attack. All right, on to puzzle 14. What now? Did the knight just jump here and capture a pawn? So, what does that accomplish? I mean, do we go there and then we can't castle anymore? Or do we ignore that and look for a checkmate ourselves? All right, looks like we have a checkmate. So we can just go, what, here? And deliver a mate. All right, hopefully you're finding these, especially, you know, if any beginners are out there watching this. All right, puzzle 15, here we go. The rook is opposing our rook on the open file. That's usually a good idea. You don't want to let your opponent take over open files, but we can cause a problem for our opponent, I think, if we look at the checks first. So if we just go here, the king would have to run where? Here. And then I think we can deliver a mate by taking their rook. So check. And then a mate, because the queen is preventing the king from running forward. All right, on to puzzle 16. Okay, we have an attack on our knight. What do we do about this? Well, it looks like we can just jump in here, forking the king and the rook. So that's a possibility. All right. Yeah, maybe that's the best move. We go there. You know, the only thing they could do, the queen could capture, but then we grab their queen. So if we go there, if the king moves, now their king is stuck in the center of the board. We could take the rook. You know, then we could even maybe think about jumping this knight forward to trade material off, but all right, I'll go with that. And they're not even going to look at it further, but we are grabbing the rook there. And as far as material, is it even? We even have an extra pawn. So, yeah, worth the trade there. We get a pawn and a rook for just our knight. Okay, oh, and they can't castle anymore. Puzzle 17, the queen is developed here. For what reason? What did this accomplish? Well, possible capture here, forking our king and the rook, so we have to watch out for that. Oh, but we have an attack of our own. We can just deliver a checkmate. So hopefully you found that. On to puzzle 18. Okay, wow, did they just capture, was that our queen they captured there? But it doesn't matter because we have a checkmate attack here. So hopefully you found it. Take a look. It looks like if we look at checks first, we can go there, and that will cover G1 and G3, which is important because if the king moves to the H file, then our rook can just deliver a checkmate. So check and mate. All right, almost done. On to puzzle 19. The queen has jumped forward. What is this trying to accomplish? Maybe a threat of a check there, harassing our king. But our queen is hovering close to our opponent's king, and it usually takes about 3 pieces to deliver a checkmate, give or take. It depends on how many defenders they have, of course. So here we have only 2. Is that enough? A rook here, the queen. So maybe we deliver a check. The king can only go here. And then it looks like we have a great pattern where the king is checkmated by the queen. So we'll take a look at that. By going here, this is a very important pattern. We're attacking the king on one of the corner squares around the king. So in doing that, as long as our queen is protected, which it is by the rook, we're attacking 2 sides and the diagonal through the middle. The only thing the queen's not covering are those 2 squares, and the white's own pawns are preventing him from going there. All right, the final problem, puzzle number 20. Okay, we just had a capture there. We have pawn, rook, and rook. Is that enough to get a win in? Well, if we look at checks first, the obvious move is to go here, delivering a check. Can he get out of that, though? And look at all these pawns. He has 3 passed pawns over here, which are very dangerous. He's ahead this bishop. But, if we check, he could block with his rook, but we would just take. So he'll probably have to go here. And then I guess we could push our pawn up because it'll be pinned. The bishop will be pinned. And then we can promote, although it'll give him time to move here. Oh, but I think it still works because of a discovered check. So check, we attack. Oh, they decide to check us. Now we can just grab material here. But if the rook would have landed here, helping guard the bishop, we could still take because of this discovered check. So now we can just take the rook. Yeah, and we're just winning now. So we're about to promote with a check, and they can't really do much. They could start running their pawns, but especially once we promote to a queen, we'll easily be winning. All right. Well, I hope you did well in these puzzles. Feel free to leave comments with whatever you have to say. I always enjoy hearing from viewers and subscribers. If you have any requests for something you want to see in future videos, you can put that in the comments. Also, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.